Peace and riches blessings. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the host of Take Back Your Mind. Peace and blessings, family. How are you? I'm feeling into you, and I'm feeling that there's a dynamic presence right at your core. I'm Michael B. Beckwith, and welcome back to Take Back Your Mind Life Question of the Week. Today, our first letter comes from Raphaëlle from Canada, who asked this. I'm currently in a relationship with someone who I really love. However, I often have doubts about the relationship, which I think comes from my past and karmic relationships. Even if my partner does nothing to make me feel insecure, I often find reasons to worry and have trouble getting out of anxious patterns. How do I let go of these doubts? How can I trust my partner and have faith in my relationship completely? Thank you, he says. Raphaëlle, thank you for writing to us today, and I'm sure you're going to help a lot of people, because your question is personal, but it's also universal because many people are in relationships and are suffering from anxious thoughts of doubt, worry, and fear. So the first thing you want to do is, if your partner hasn't given you any evidence of anything to be fearful or doubtful about, you want to look at your own thoughts. You want to sit in meditation and observe the thoughts. You want to observe them. You want to look at them. You don't want to sublimate them. You don't want to push them away. You want to absolutely embrace those thoughts and emotions and look at them and see what are those thoughts saying underneath the emotion. In those thoughts, you will find a lie, something that's not true about God, something that's not true about life. But you'll also find maybe something emerging where you're concerned. Maybe there's a fear. Maybe there's an unresolved hurt, unresolved trauma that's just in your psyche and gets triggered and bubbled up while you're in relationship. So I want you to just look at those thoughts, embrace them, and look at them so that as you're observing them with the intention now of being a good partner yourself in the relationship, observe those thoughts with that underlying intention of being a loving presence. And those thoughts will begin to transmute. They'll begin to dissolve, particularly if they're coming from a sense of unresolved trauma of the past. Now, as you get clear, your intuitive faculties will be more increased, and you can actually intuit whether or not there's something to be concerned about, or whether it's just your old anxious thoughts that are emerging from a sense of trauma or a sense of separation or an experience that was unresolved. So one, observe the thoughts, embrace and observe and notice the lies in them. When I say by lies, something that's not in harmony with the fundamental harmony of the universe. I'm not loved. I'm not worthy. I never get things my way. Those are lies that via your past experience have generated themselves into a perception and then replicates the experience. But as you observe them and see that anything you might be saying is not true, they'll begin to transmute based on observation. You can begin to do that with the underlying intention that you are seeking to grow spiritually, which means seeking to become a loving presence on the planet. If you take this on as a practice, you will begin to see you change, and then you'll notice that the dynamic in your relationship changes. Raphaëlle, thank you for asking this question. you're helping yourself and so many others. Our next letter comes from Rosa. Rosa is hailing from Vancouver, Canada. She says this: I consider myself an empath. I feel a lot of compassion for people, and I'm often the one advocating for others when I witness something unjust. At the same time, I hold a conflicting view, which is that most people are just not good humans. I struggle with this duality as I oscillate between love for humanity and utter despair and hate for our humankind. In my personal life, I often find myself feeling betrayed or disappointed by friends and colleagues. On a bigger scale, I feel deeply disheartened about the state of the world, and I'm often angry at strangers when I witness their greed, their selfishness, their hate, their deceit, and other toxic and self-serving behavior. I recognize that I am the common denominator and that perhaps I need to reflect on myself. I also understand that my beliefs are creating my reality, but I'm finding it extremely difficult to shift my perspective. How do I change my views about people when I believe that most people are inherently bad, and when I see evidence of this in my daily interactions and observations? This is a great letter. It's a great letter, Rosa. Let's dissect this. You said, I understand that my beliefs are creating my reality. Your beliefs are creating your experience of reality. Reality, as it really is an omnipresence of God. God is love, peace, harmony, intelligence, beauty. That's reality. And then we have our experience of reality. That means our perceptions are being responded to by the law of life and creates our reality. So you have a belief that most people are just not good humans. You oscillate between love for humanity and utter despair and hate for humankind. So in truth, every single being is a spiritual being having a human incarnation. Now, there's a great teacher by the name of Yeshua ben Joseph that said that the poor will be with us always. A lot of times people interpret that has something to do with money. No. Poor means limited consciousness, limited perception. And as humanity evolves to become a greater expression of its real spiritual nature, there will always be people that have a lesser perception of reality that are being called to grow. They'll be pulled by those who have expanded. So in one aspect, you are right. There are people that would be deceitful and greedy, et cetera, but the whole group is evolving to reflect and reveal their real spiritual nature. So when human beings aren't inherently evil or inherently bad, they're inherently good. Human beings are inherently loving and brilliant. It's just covered up by little perception. So if you're creating a reality based on your belief of the inherent negativity of humanity, you're going to pull that into your experience. You're going to see it everywhere, and then you're going to experience it in your daily life. So as you said to yourself, maybe I need to reflect upon myself. Yes, you do. You need to reflect upon yourself and uproot that belief. That's not going to make you unsecure about people who are poor in consciousness that may want to take advantage of you. Matter of fact, you'll become more protected because the feeling tone of safety, the feeling tone of love, the feeling tone of God being everywhere, the feeling tone that everyone is intrinsically magnificent will create a kind of a vibrational buffer, keeping you safe from those who are poor in consciousness, who have a lesser perception of that which is real. So, yes, if we look upon the news reels, we see despicable things happening on the planet. We see governments bombing people. I mean, bombing, literally killing human beings all over the planet, you see. Those are called the poor of us. They have limited consciousness, and they are what you call animalistic. They operate from a lesser than human consciousness. Yet, there are millions of people that do not operate from that. There are millions of people that just want to love, take care of their family, and progress in life. So even though the poor are among us, where are you to live? You are to live in the awareness that this presence is everywhere, that life is untouched or unharmed by human experience, so that you can begin to live in the world that is real, beyond the matrix, beyond the simulation, beyond the bizarro world that we see displayed in the news. Then what happens? You begin to draw into your life individuals that are seeking to grow in love, in peace, harmony, non-judgmentalism, the love of all humankind, regardless of nationality, regardless of color of skin, regardless of religious background. There are so many people like that on the planet. You want to be one of them, and you'll draw that into your experience. So without denying what's happening in the human experiential realm, human experience, there is the realm of the eternal. You are to keep one foot in the eternal, love, compassion, conscious oneness with the presence of God. 1 foot in time. 1 foot in time allows you to bring compassion for the lesser ones, compassions for the poor ones, compassions for those who are hurt, without getting caught in the sauce of hate of those who have lesser consciousness. I hope that makes sense. Listen to it more than once. And Rosa, thank you for asking the question. I think you've helped a lot of people, particularly with so much going on the planet right now, where an old paradigm is dying and a new paradigm is being born. Its birth is kind of messy. Peace and blessings. Peace and dynamic blessings. Many of you have written letters about how much you really appreciate the Take Back Your Mind podcast and the life questions. So appreciate those letters. Now, our particular program here, these episodes, it's powered by spiritual purpose, but it also has powerful sponsorship. The primary sponsor is Agape International Spiritual Center. So everything that goes on here, Agape is behind it. So what I want you to do, I want you to support the Take Back Your Mind podcast. Go to agapelive.com, make a donation, put a little indication that you're supporting the podcast in that donation, or text the word give to 424-321-6243. Write the word podcast so we know you're supporting this wonderful program of Take Back Your Mind. The secondary sponsor is Neutralize. This is the company that actually produces my particular supplemental line called Adaptozen. I have the super greens, I have the Elevate fermented mushrooms, and a number of other products that are emerging. Just go to Neutralize.com, find Adaptozen, and you know what? Uplift your spirit, uplift your body. Remember to share all of this with your friends and support our wonderful sponsor. Have a beautiful day. Blessings to you, and thank you for tuning in to the life question of the week, meditation portion of Take Back Your Mind. You know, I love that title, Take Back Your Mind. Why? Because it speaks to the fact that oftentimes the mind is hijacked by worldly opinion, race consciousness, human beliefs. It's often hijacked by our own opinions, often hijacked by unresolved fears, doubts, and worries that force us into a state of victimhood, asking immature and disempowering questions. Not you, not here, not now. We're going to go into meditation, and you're going to ask a question that will be answered by the universal presence, by law. What do I mean by that? I've taught this over the years, but I think I'm putting greater emphasis on it now. The law answers every question that you ask. Universal law answers every question. And oftentimes people get caught in the sauce of separation, and they ask questions like, why me? Why is everything always going wrong in my life? What's wrong? Who's to blame? Those are all egocentric, limited perceptual questions. You're going to ask a question. And you're going to determine what the question is. I'll give you some choices. And you're going to then sit in a response, allowing the universe to answer that question. You can ask this question: how can it get better than this? You can sit in that. You can answer this question: what if everything is working together for my good? You can ask this question: why are my needs always being met? You can ask this question: why am I so healthy? You can ask this question: why does the universal presence love me so much? You see what I did there? You ask a question. It could be about finances, it could be about health, it could be about relationships, it could be about whatever. And then you become receptive to the answer. Why is that important? Because sometimes we'll affirm something that we want to experience, but a little voice in there will say, you don't really believe that affirmation. It's not true. I'm poised, confident, and healthy. And the little voice may say, no, you're not. However, if you pose it as a question first, why am I so poised and confident? Why am I so successful? Why am I so healthy? Why am I so prosperous? You see what happens there? Your energy opens up. There's nothing to conflict with it. And now the law can answer that question as an insight, an encounter, a revelation, an action to be taken, a demonstration of prosperity. It can answer the question because you're not blocking it by not believing it based on affirming. So you ask the question, affirm later. Okay? So this is what we're going to do. You're going to turn within, close your outer eyes. Get a real sense that right where you are is all the power, presence, and love that there is. Think about your life. Is it health? Is it financial? Is it success-oriented? And ask a question that assumes the end already. Why am I so prosperous? Why am I so healthy? Why am I so loved and supported? Why can my body heal anything? Why does everything always work together for my good? Universal presence through law, answer my question. Why does everything work together for my good? Choose a question, sit in the opening that question leaves you, and catch the feeling of the answer of that question. Why does everything always work together for my good, even now? Pick a question and sit in it. Your mind drifts, come into a state of gratitude, and ask an empowering question. Why are my needs always met? Why am I so successful? Why am I so joyful and happy? You choose the question and then sit in your openness to the answer by law. How can it get better than this? Answer me. Answer me, universal presence, by your sacred law. How can it get better than this? Why do I have so much energy? And as you are receiving that answer, and that answer will continue to come to and through you throughout the remainder of this day, even in your sleep, it may come as a dream. Why is everything working together for my good? How can it get better than this? In that vibration and frequency, I speak the word for everyone tuning in now, knowing that their life is the life of God Almighty, God All Beauty, God All Joy, God All Intelligence. And this God is not a guy in the sky, but pure spirit, a presence that is never in absence, in us, as us now. The word is spoken that each and every one of us are now free to explore our greatest potentiality, the activation of our highest potential even now in every area of our life. We give thanks for this and more than words can say or convey, and we allow it to be so. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for tuning in to the Life Questions of the Week. Thank you for practicing the art and science of meditation today with an emphasis on an empowering question. Thank you for liking this, subscribing to it, and letting all of your friends know about it, that we can create a vibrational revolution for the planet. Peace and blessings. Your time is very valuable, so I want to thank you for tuning in to Take Back Your Mind. If you want to submit a life question, please do so. Email us at podcast@michaelbeckwith.com, and perhaps one day I'll be answering your question that will touch the lives of so many. If you've enjoyed the show, you might as well submit a 5-star review. You might as well tell your friends and family. Let's spread the love. Until we meet again, maintain your awareness. Take back your mind. Because when you take back your mind, you take back your life. Peace and blessings.